I would like to say thank you to Eliel for a beautiful reading. It's so nice when you see young people get involved, especially with the Word of God. Thank you, Eliel. I really appreciate it. The music has been amazing. You can maybe just stop the sermon and just sing, and we can go home, we can have a lunch. It's so beautiful when the praise team come together and inspire us to sing more and to sing loud with confidence, with joy. And for those who don't know me, I think there's quite a lot of visitors here. My name is Jose. I'm one of the elders at the Edinburgh Church. Is anyone here being involved or been through a war situation in your life? Please, put your hand if you have you been in a war situation? There are four people. The topic of this morning is Jesus saves. And before I get to continue to speak, let's pray. Dear God, speak clearly to me. Grant me the humility to listen and to speak the truth alone. I being involved in a war situation. I was a young man, 1992. I was excited. There was rumors of wars at the time. But we didn't take that seriously. They were just rumors. And I remember very clearly, we went home for lunch after Sabbath, and I was eating so quickly. My mom saying, "Why you eat so quickly?" I say, "No, because I want to meet my friends in the afternoon, 2:30, for the Pathfinders." My mom said, "Slow down, take your time." I said, "No, my friends will be waiting for me. I need to go back to church." And maybe by 1:30, I left the table, I jumped, and I went to church because my friends were there waiting. We agreed to meet before the Pathfinders. I arrived at church 1:45. We didn't live far from church. 2:15, the war broke up. And I spent the next 7 days without seeing my parents. And I was thinking all the time. My mom say, "Take your time, eat slowly." But, I want to be with my friends. I went to church. The war broke out with such intensity that there was no time to look back or say, "I want to go home." When the war broke up, all you can think is safety. And the quick thing we could think about was to get inside the church for refuge. There was bombing all over the place. And the thing is that the church was next to the palace. When there's war, palace, government buildings, they are the target. Because they were targeting the palace, so a lot of these things were falling outside the church. As a result of the war, our province became captive. The government forces lost the province, and for 2 years, we were deprived of any contact with the outside world or any other provinces. In fact, if I had to write a letter to my auntie in the other province, I had to write to the Red Cross. We used to call it open letter. So which means you can't comment anything bad. And you need to say good things because they were reading the letter. So the letters had to be open. For 2 years. For 2 years, we spent without eating rice, sugar, or milk. The good things were vegetables. But forget about any other thing. 2 years until the government forces composed themselves and took back the province. So we were captives for 2 years. In 1945, that was the end of the Second World War, May 1945. If you know the war, Germany was divided, West and the East. The West side was divided by the Allied forces, United States, Britain, and France, and the East by the Russians. If you're old enough, you may just remember that there were people trying to get to one side to the other. Some people even got shot, some people died because they felt captives, they felt trapped, and they were wanted to get to the better side. 1899, the Art Conference, that was the first time they met to look in ways how to treat prisoners in a better way. This is after the Civil War in America. Geneva First Convention, 1864. All these dates was how can we preserve prisoners? How can we treat prisoners in a better way? So this is the first indication that we, as a historical context, we know that when there's war, there's captives. Let's look at biblical context. Judges 16, verse 21. Samson, we know the story of Samson, the strongest man ever to live the earth. But because of bad choices, he ended up marrying Delilah. She deceived him, and he was put into jail. He was a prisoner. They put him in a grinder. So he was basically grinding cereals and other grains. I don't know how long it took, but one day the Philistines decided, let's celebrate capturing Samson. Let's give thanks to our God, their God, for capturing Samson. At this point, Samson was no longer was not just a prisoner, but was a performer. From the strongest man, now to be a performer. I don't know what kind of performer. I don't know if he was singing. I don't know if he was dancing. But the Bible says, if you look at the story, say he was a performer. So let's call Samson to perform for us. So they called Samson, and he came and performed. I don't know which performance he presented. Maybe he was good at riddles. Maybe he did some riddles in front of Philistines. But after the performance, he asked a young man to take him next to the pillar. And we know the story that thousands of Philistines died. Samson as a prisoner. Jehoiakim and his family, because he didn't follow what his forefathers had done, or he actually followed but in the wrong way, he did what it was wrong, he was taken captive to Babylon. And the Bible says that Nebuchadnezzar himself actually came to Jerusalem to take Jehoiakim and his family as captives to Babylon. Let's look at Moses. In the book of Numbers 31:12, God gave the instructions to Moses to say, destroy the Midianites. And actually there were 5 kings. Moses destroyed 5 kings in that day. And it said, God gave a special instruction, say, take captives the children and the women, and kill the men and the 5 kings. Captives again, the story continues. So when there's war, there's captives. If you win the war, you make what? You take people captive. If you lose the war, you are a prisoner, basically. Let's look at Jacob when he flees Laban. Jacob realizes that he's no longer in favor with his father-in-law. He decides to flee, pack his belongings, his 2 wives, and they run away. Laban doesn't know. When he finds out, he pursues them, and he overtakes them in the Mount of Gilead. And this is what Laban told his son-in-law. He said, are you taking my daughters like captives of war? It was a norm to make people captive. So I just want to make sure you understand this principle. When there's war, the part that wins take captives. If you lose the war, you are taken as you're more likely, if you don't die, you're more likely to take as a prisoner. And this situation continues even today. There's people taken captives even today. There's people in prison. Isaiah 42, verse 6 to 7, our young friend read very well. But I want you to focus on verse 7. That is what Jesus says. God says that He came to this world to open the eyes of the blind and to free the captives from the prison and to release those who are in the danger, a dungeon, those who sit in the darkness. And this verse is even further emphasized in Isaiah 61. It says that the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. Actually, it's a reflection of what Jesus had told when He started His ministry in the book of Luke 4, verse 18. No, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He gave me power to free the captives. So now we know that the very reason Jesus came to this heart is this heart is to free the captives. There's people who are captive and can only be free by Jesus. We know there was war in heaven also. The devil uses politics to instigate that the law of God was heavy, that what the angels were following was actually not a good command, and then the kingdom that He wants to introduce, they will be free. If you look at the story of redemption, chapter 1, this is what the Lucifer says and did. Lucifer refused to listen, and then he turned from the loyal and true angels, denouncing them as slaves. He basically told the other angels that they were slaves. He will create a better kingdom. There was war in heaven. Revelation 12, verse 7 says that then the war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angel fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angel fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. There was war in heaven. What is the principle that we are learning so far? Is that when there's war, the part that wins make what? Yeah. Those who lose, what? They're prisoners. If there was war in heaven, Jesus and these angels fought back and they won. They were victorious. So the devil and these angels, they lost. So they are basically the captives. Ezekiel 28, this is what it says, that the Lucifer was blameless from the time he was created until weakness was found in him. We don't know how this weakness came on him, but we know that he deceived a sort of angels. The great dragon was hurled down, the ancient serpent called the devil. If we go forward, again, the story of redemption, chapter 1, we hear the story, we see the fall of Lucifer. And if you read the book, it says that while the devil, Lucifer, was establishing this discord, loyal angels, they went to the Father. They ran to the Father. And when they went to the Father, they say they saw the Father speaking to the Son, calmly, in control of the situation. And this is what the book says about the angels who didn't sin. That day, they learned a lesson of genuine rebellion against the unchangeable law of God. Did you wonder yourself why God didn't destroy the Lucifer when they commit sin? And the brother Stanley last week, if you were here last week, he spoke really well and why the Lucifer was not destroyed. Think about this yourself. Why are you still alive? The things you do, the things you commit, the faults you do, you're still alive. But God is a God of opportunities, chances. And if you read forward, this is what God said, that it took, if I continue, sorry, if God had exercised his power to punish this chief rebel, disaffected angels would not have been manifested. Hence, God took another course, for he would manifest distinctly to all heavenly hosts his justice and his judgment. Now, let's read Isaiah 14, verse 16, 17. In particular, verse 17. I would like the church to read so we can have our full understanding. Isaiah 14, 16 to 17. Let's all read together. Those... The man who made the world wildest through the cities. God. Repair in the verse in the end of the verse says that the man would not let his captives go home. So God made devil captive, and the devil is making captive himself. There's that attitude, they say that if I'm going down fighting. It's the attitude they say that I know I'll be destroyed, but I'm going to take as many as possible with me. God didn't destroy Lucifer because he prepared a specific place for his destruction. While it is not happening, the devil is taking prisoners himself, and he's refusing to release those prisoners. Now we have these two narratives. Isaiah 42 verse 7 says that Jesus came to this world to save those who are in prison. And Isaiah 14, 17 says the devil is saying he will not let go his captives go home. If you look in the Bible, we look at the story, the Israelites that were in Egypt. Aaron and Moses went to Pharaoh, say, release the people of Israel. What is Pharaoh said? I will not let the people go. Who is your God? This is evil talking. I will not let the people go. Jesus saying, I came to this world to free the captives. The devil say, no, I will not let them go. Who is in prison? Let's see who is in prison. 2 Peter 2 verse 4. God did not spare the angels when they sinned. Matthew 25:31. When they talk about the story, Jesus talked about the parable of the sheep and the goat. And they say those on the right, they are the sheep, there will be a feast. But those on the left, this is what they say, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire, prepare for the devil and his angels. There's a fire prepared for the devil and his angels. But who else is in this prison? We know that those who win, they are not prisoners. That Jesus and his arm, they won, so they can't be in hell. They can't be in a prison. So who else is in the prison? Yes? Yes. People. If you don't follow God's command, no, you can be in jail. What are type of jails that sometimes we find ourselves? Ungodly mindset. We think we are superior than others. We think that we are better than others. And there's commonly we commonly say as a pride. And it probably is the largest of the cells, the largest of the prisons. We don't realize that we are in prison, but we are. Ungodly mindset. Jesus said, I came to save you. I came to set you free. The devil is saying, I won't let you go. Addictions. There's so many. Time, gadgets, food. You can number. There's so many. The devil says, I got you. I'm not going to let you go. Jesus says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to free the captives. Amen. Worldly preoccupation. We are so busy. We are worried about doing our things. We don't realize we're in jail. Growing up, I met a doctor. He exercised at home. He had his clinic at home. Was very well known in the city, actually. You go to, everywhere you go, you're asking Dr. John, everyone knew him. Because he was so good. For some reason, everything that touched, doesn't matter which problem you have, he always managed a way to fix. So I had developed this allergy problem as a child. My dad took him there very quickly. He gave some injections in the course of 3 days. I was healed after that. It was very well known. But what's happened with the Dr. John is that during the election, 92, Dr. John was a sympathizer of one of the parties. There was elections. His party was losing. When there's announcements, daily announcements were coming, this party has 70%, the other has 20%. He was so disappointed that he had a heart attack and died. Last year when I went home, I actually passed in the street where Dr. John used to operate, and I remind me how good it was. But preoccupation, worried. Are you worried about the things, the current things in the world? I got a relative, when I call him, I'm calling because I miss him, I want to speak with him, but all he say, oh, what's happening now in the world? Well, how is Russia? How is Ukraine? What is happening now? Now, what's Iran? He's worried about the world preoccupation. I'm calling because I miss him, I want to talk to you. What I hear back is, what's happening now in the world? Are you okay? Are you secure? Are you safe? And we don't realize we are in prison. Ungodly conversations. We come to church, maybe we talk things that we shouldn't talk. And we can't help each other. We can't help ourselves. We talk, and we are in prison. But the good news is that Jesus is telling us he can free us from this prison. Omission. I think we talked about on the lesson this morning. We focus on the things we are not doing right, we are doing wrong, we're doing right, forgetting the things that we are not doing right. And we talk in the lesson that maybe there are things that we think we are doing well, we're coming to church, but what about our neighbor? What about saying hello to our neighbor? What about, Sister Teresa mentioned today, what about those who were not here last Sabbath? Did we reach them? Did we check on them to say, how are you? We didn't saw you on Sabbath. Are you okay? There's other prisons. I don't know. You may know your prison. You may know the struggle you're facing. There's so many. I can't really go through all of them, but I can talk about temper. There's people with the bad temper. Anything they're ready to fight, they're ready to grab a sword like Peter. My dad had a bad temper at one point when I was growing up. The church at those days, they were doing tournaments, playing with other churches on a regular basis. And all I remember as a young boy is that if someone is fighting in the middle of the pitch, that is my dad. He was that quick to, if someone tackled me in a bad way, he will, grab a fist, ready to fight. That was my dad. And years later, I met someone, I was traveling to Europe, I met someone in Portugal, I say, oh my dear, you look like your dad, but you don't have anything to do with you like your dad. I said, why? I say, oh my dear, when you used to play, if someone is fighting, it's your dad. Ready to, but thank God, he has changed. Sometimes I talk to my sister, I tell what dad used to do, they have no idea. I said, yeah, that's how it has changed. There's other prisons that we can find ourselves into. Browsing our phones. Have you checked your phone maybe at the end of the week to see how many times you use Google, YouTube? You are in prison. And there's no other ministry. There's no ministry that can save you from that. There's no prayer ministry. There is no prayer warriors. But Jesus alone just said, I can save you. I can save you. The devil prison has no parole system. Once you're there until Jesus can come to save you. There is no calling a good lawyer. There is no, what they call in UK, good behavior. Sometimes you see people get sentenced for 6 years, but then 2 years is out because of good behavior. There's no such a thing. Once you're there, unless Jesus himself can come to free you. There's so many. But what is the steps we can take to fortify ourselves? And I believe that God is a God of second chances. A lot of us, we are in jail, we are out, back in, out again, in, but we don't know how long these things will last. But we need to take a few steps to fortify ourselves to avoid being in jail permanent. Put in God's whole armor. I wasn't here, but I saw the sermon. There was a preacher from America. He did a very good, wonderful sermon about this. And the curious thing is that he says that God's armor. When David went to Saul and put his armor heavy, bulk, and he said, "Now remove these things." God's armor is perfect to our size. It fits us well. We are in war. We need to be ready to fight. Calling on Jesus. We need to call on Jesus. Acts 4 verse 12. Salvation is found in no one else because there is no other name given to man by which a man can be saved. We need to call on Jesus. And Jesus already said, "Father, I need to go to save the man." And if you look parts of the book of Redemption, especially chapter 1, says that loyal angels, they begged Jesus not to die for mankind. They said, "Now let us die. Let's die for you instead. You go to save man." But Jesus said that now their blood would be sufficient to save mankind, but he alone would die for mankind. Praying always. Yes, we need to pray. Pray without ceasing. Pray should be a tool on our daily lives. Believing in His Word. In John 8:31-32, this is what Jesus said to His disciples. He said, "If you know my words, you are my disciples. And if you are my disciples, you know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Waiting on the Lord. We need to wait on the Lord. David says that waiting on the Lord transform our gloomy evenings with the expectancy for a bright morning. There's a verse say that you may cry in the evening, but joy what? Joy comes in the morning. Wait in the Lord. Let's put our hope in the Lord. Longing for heaven. I sometimes, I used to think about heaven, but David, for me, that takes the cake. David not just thinking about heaven, but actually thinking, his mind is in his sanctuary. He wants to see, he sees God in the sanctuary. Sister Bev mentioned that, before we started the song service. David says, my soul longs, yes, even faints in the court of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. We see that this is a king, powerful man, rich, but he's longing for heaven. He's longing for that place. Even thinking about the sanctuary. I'm thinking sometimes we think about walking in the streets of gold, meeting loved ones. But David is already thinking, he's thinking higher. He thinks it's a sanctuary. I've looked for you in the sanctuary to see your power and glory. Where are you looking? Where are you longing? I have these two pictures here. The one on your right, this is the last time I went home. There's a nice piece of what they call popo, or what they call the people call papai. Papai, is that? Yeah. I'm used to here, go to a supermarket to get a popo or papai that is probably the size of orange. And I completely forgot how huge they were. And my mom was saying that this is one of the smallest. Because normally it's even, I sent that picture to Lucas at the time. I want to tease Lucas, so I sent that picture to Lucas. When I grabbed that piece of papai, the flavor, the juices, I can't describe. But what made me think is, oh my God, what are the fruits is here? What about in heaven? What about the fruit in heaven? A few months later, my dad, we were my wife, we were doing a WhatsApp video, and he shows a huge avocado. He says it weighs more than 1 kilo. Just one avocado. Now you go to the supermarket, you get these tiny tennis bowls of avocados. But one avocado weighed 1 kilo. Did you imagine? What about heaven? This is me, I'm putting it in food, but where are you longing? What is the image that comes to your mind of longing the things above? The picture on your left, this is my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother. I never met my great-grandfather, but I met my great-grandmother. A member of the family was doing a research and was writing a book, and they come, through the Easter of Seventh-day Adventist Church in Angola, and they conclude that my great-grandfather was the first black composer of music at church, a Seventh-day Adventist church. I long to see my great-grandfather. Maybe playing, maybe write a song together. The thing about my great-grandfather is, as a child, at 10 years, he was probably about 11 or 12, he was left at home with his sister. And slave traders came to the village while the parents were in farming, and they took my great-grandfather and his sister, and they never saw their parents again. They were sold for another traders in South Africa, and there someone bought his sister, and a Portuguese merchant, bought my great-grandfather. He never saw his sister again, never saw his father again, settled in Angola, married. That is my great-grandmother. And last time I went home, my auntie, my mom's old sister, managed to find a piece of music, a piece of song with lyrics that my great-grandfather wrote. And we sang in a traditional language. I couldn't put it there to record, but we sang. And the song was all about longing when I get to heaven. I'm here, but I'm longing heaven. What are you longing for? What are you longing for? In the very beginning, I said that the war broke up. I was at church because I want to be with my friends. The war was one Saturday, as I say Saturday, I think it was about Tuesday. We were hiding in the church. Because the church was next to a military compound, the opposition forces, they try to destroy, is one of the key things they do in war. If you destroy the armament of the opposition, that means you can short the time of war. So that's what has happened. So they threw bombs into this warehouse full of guns and bombs, and that thing exploded all in one big, the strong noise that I ever heard in my life. The sky was red and blue, everything. And because we were just close, we thought that day that everyone is going to die. Those who were at church, the only thing we could do is crawling, being underneath the chairs, any space you could find. Now, my family, they saw the skylight in red around the church. They thought that everyone is dead. Everyone in the church is dead. But anyway, 7 days later, another Saturday, everything was quiet. Anyway, I managed to get home. The longing. When I went home, is one of the beautiful encounters that I have had in my life. My family thought I was dead, and I came home after a week, after 7 days. What a joy. What a joy. What are you longing for? Where are you putting your hope? Are you worried what's happening right now in the world? What is your hope? David says, I see you in his sanctuary. Are you see yourself, pitching yourself, seeing God in his sanctuary? Find something. Maybe a food. Maybe you dream of even a nice juicy mango in heaven. Maybe you see yourself walking the street of gold. Maybe you see meeting your loved ones. But grab that thing, because those things will keep you away from prison. Otherwise, you keep going back. You're going to go back again to the prison. And only Jesus can save you. I want to end with this quotation. I will give you time to read yourself. Jeremiah 29, verse 11 to 14. God has a good plan for you, not to harm you. And in fact, scholar says that this verse was given as a plan for the tribe of Judah, for Judah. They were in exile, and there's a beautiful plan that God is not here to harm you, but to give you hope, to save you. And I will bring you back from the place from which I carry you into exile. It doesn't matter where you are. A lot of us came from different countries. We are here. We are settling here. The majority have settled. Doesn't matter where you're going through. Doesn't matter which jail are you. The good news is that there's hope. And Jesus says that I will bring you back from the place from which I carry you into exile. May the God bless his word. Amen.